Morning everyone, it's Carol at Oak House Journals. Big warm welcome from me as always. I'm going to do my assignment today. This is the assignment for Margarete Miller's Collage Weekly Planner Challenge 2023, and we're on, or rather I'm on, week number 31. I've got my bits and bobs off to one side here that I think I might need. I've got some glue. I've got my prompt items here, so as always, if the challenge is new to you, a link is in the description box below this video. So going through the prompts, translucent paper. I've got here, as you can see, some embossed vellum paper that I thought might be nice to try out, and I've also got this, which is some lovely crisp tissue paper, but as you can see, it's a piece of old packaging that I've salvaged. So those two pieces. Something royal, well, I've gone with this cute little postcard here, and the royal aspect is obviously the crown. A picnic item, I've got this lovely image out of a magazine here of two ladies sat in a very autumnal park having a picnic, and I love this. They've got their bottle of wine, they've got their flowers, but what I'm particularly going to focus on is the picnic basket here. Something inspired by a fairy tale, that's the next prompt. I've got this little image here of a fairy. Shoe or shoes, well, still going with the fairy tale theme. This is an image of Cinderella's glass slipper, or a drawing of what Cinderella's glass slipper would have looked like. I thought this was absolutely lovely, and I'm going to be using that on my piece. And something shiny, well, I've got these. Now these are nail gems of, maybe you can see them better if I turn them over. There we go. These are nail gems. I don't use them, but they're great for crafting, so I thought I would use some of these on my piece, predominantly I think to sparkle up Cinderella's shoe, and I thought I'd use those. I've also got this image here, and the reason I've lifted this out is because I have some writing at the bottom of this image, and it's the same autumnal themes. I think it's probably the same lady in this picture, but I thought I could use that part of the image to help me cover up that writing down there. This is my lightweight cardstock that I always work on, and as always, let me show you, there is a pencil margin drawn all the way around, and I'll work inside that. So let's get started and see what I can come up with. And I always start with the biggest image. I don't know why, or the biggest piece. I don't know why, but it's almost like I need to get that on my piece and then work the other pieces around it. Now I have folded this over. Actually, rather than this, I could have used this there, but it doesn't matter. I love this autumnal image. I love the autumnal colours, especially having worked the last two assignments fairly monochromatically. So I've got that, just lining it up with the margin on the left hand side, taking it over a little, because I want to get this in. I don't want to have the picnic table in view. I was just wondering if I could use that to cover up the writing. That is a possibility. If I pull this over here like that, so that it's slightly staggered on this side. Okay. Originally I thought I would fussy cut this out and just have it up in the trees there as if it was flying and looking down at these two ladies down there. But then what came to mind was if she stood on a stone. So I thought I would make her stand on the top of this card so that she's still looking down here. I'm going to move that out a little bit. There's a wine bottle here with a hint of red. Now I don't want that. I think it's going to detract the eye. So I'm just moving the postcard in so that it covers it up. I'm happy to have this staggered, and I'm not going to fussy cut her out because I like this detail. It's almost like she's got a gossamer gown on, and I like the detail because it's picking up the colours as well. Now this is the tricky one because I've got this big soft cushion or pouffe down there, and I want to kind of mask that a little. Ooh, everything's moved. So I'm just going to bring this in. I was thinking I could do something like that and maybe mask it a little bit. As I said, I don't like this writing down there, so I thought that I could bring this in and hide it by doing that. And if I line this up with the top of the writing and the edge of the E there, the join line is almost seamless, which is brilliant. I could bring this down a little bit. I'm also thinking about trimming this off and getting rid of the writing there, which would be quite nice, which would bring everything in. If I move that out a little bit, because I want this edge staggered. So that's working quite well for me at the moment. So I'm thinking something along those lines for this, and then obviously cut it off square at the bottom. I've got to get in this somehow. Now I could put this along the bottom as well. This is not quite right, so I could put that behind the fairy so that it's framed a little bit and hopefully would ease the transition onto there. So yeah, I'm liking that so far. So I'm going to do some trimming and see how that looks. Let me get those nail gems out of the way. I'm going to trim down that edge initially. Let's do that. And this piece, I'm going to trim it off just where the foliage starts there. And bring that piece in like that. Yep, that's working. I'm going to commit to this piece because I can always trim it off level with the bottom of this background image if I decide I don't like it. And if I bring in my piece of tissue paper, let's have a little look at that. I don't really need to have this to mask that line there because the shoe is going to, but I was just wondering what this might look like in there. I'm going to leave that off for the minute and go back to these pieces. So I was having that one lined up with the edge of that bottle there. My fairy was going to go like that, so she's staggered. So my piece now needs to come down because she's too high, and then my shoe needs to go at an angle like that. I'm going to line up the heel level with the edge of this card here so that I can get those two images in clearly. So what I'm going to do is, let's just try this piece behind here. I'm going to go under the fairy. All the work is happening down this right hand side, but I'm not too bothered about that. I could trim this off here. Right, I'm liking the fairy where it is, so I'm going to glue that in place. I'm liking where I've got this shoe position, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue just to hold it in place. Okay, so now I've got that in place, just put a bit of glue on this side as well. I've decided, obviously, because I've glued this down, not to have it down here. I did wonder about popping a portion up here to do that transition. The other option I've got is I could put a piece in here, do that. Not liking any of those options, so let's go in with this and see what I can do with this. Now that would work just to frame this card on three sides, and I could have the torn edge there. I'm liking how that looks at the top, and if I move it up I can mimic that look at the bottom. I've even got enough play that I can actually slide it in under the shoe if I wanted to, like that, and that's another option. Or I could just go with it up here like this and frame my fairy. I think I might do that actually. If I turn it round that way, that's more or less the perfect size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see what that torn edge looks like. And yep, that's what I'm going to do. and I'm wondering whether to try and bring in a little bit at the bottom here as well, like that. It's going to be very, very subtle, but I think I will. Just going to level this edge off a little better. If I tear it up here, it should do. I'm going to keep that edge straight, and I might need to tear a little bit more down this right hand side behind the fairy. This one I'm going to do the same. You can hardly see it at all. Let's try this piece, maybe just at the bottom. Let's have a look at that. Just a hint of it. Yes, I'm liking that better. Unfortunately, I've ripped this too short, but I might have a long enough piece there. So let's pop that in there, see if it is long enough. Yeah, I could do that. Liking how that's looking behind my fairy, so I'm going to put some glue on here just to hold it. Liking how this is looking on here at the bottom, so I'm going to put some glue under here. And now I want to see if I can get a portion of this behind. I'm going to go in and again put a little dab of glue behind here. I was looking at this one, it's ready to glue down now, and for me to add on my gems, but I was wondering whether or not to chop it across the bottom. I staggered it because I thought it would line or work well with the staggering that I've got at the top, but actually when I put that across the bottom, I think I like that better, so I'm going to trim that and have it like that. I haven't glued this little piece quite straight, but it's down now and glued well, so there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to go in and glue this to my background. Do you know, trying to get anything straight is the bane of my life. I'm really hopeless at it. I'm not quite sure why I'm so bad at it, but I am. And now I'm going to go in with my little gems, and I thought I would put a little gem on the top of the crown here, because that seems to beg for one, and then just dot some little ones all over the shoe, because as you can see there's obviously sparkles intended to be on the shoe. So let's go in and put a dab of glue at the top there for my something shiny. I'm going to find a fairly big one for up there, so I'm going for the second largest in size. Now all of these I'm going to go with tiny ones, so let's get going with those. This is my finished piece for this week's assignment. Not too sure that it works particularly well, but at least I have got some pieces that tie in. There's blue on the shoe, which picks up the blue of this cushion here, and there's a hint of bluish grey above the robin's head underneath that crown. The crown and the robin's chest pick up this background colour, which I'm liking, and this gossamer gown that the fairy's wearing is the same colour tone as this piece here. I've got my gems obviously on the shoe. I hope Cinderella is pleased with how encrusted her shoes look. There are obviously marks on here which imply that there should be gems all over it, even though it's supposed to be a glass slipper. So let's quickly go through the prompts. Translucent paper, well, I popped it in behind here and in behind here. Something royal, well, I went for my crown up there. A picnic item, well, obviously this is a picnic scene, but predominantly it's the hamper there. Something inspired by a fairy tale, well, I went with my little fairy or nymph here that's looking enviously, I think, at these two ladies having a lovely time with their picnic, and looks like they've got cocktail glasses down there. A shoe or shoes, well, again staying with the fairy tale theme, as I mentioned, I went with this drawing of Cinderella's glass slipper or glass shoe. And the bonus, something shiny, well, I went with a nail gem up on the crown here, and I made Cinderella's shoes as sparkly as I could. So as always, everybody, there'll be some photographs at the end for you to have a look at. Sorry, I've got glue on my bone folder. I've got some pictures at the end for you to have a look at, and I look forward to seeing you for next week's assignment number 32. Until then, happy crafting and have a great week. Bye bye now.